All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, March 31st. We have an 8-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'm going to give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3, 4 more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of yesterday, a 1-in-1 night, but, and it's a big but, our one play that we did hit was a 1-unit play, and our loss was a half-unit play, so a little bit of green on the top there. Didn't necessarily love the board yesterday. I know we always get comments of like, why only 2 plays and blah, blah, blah. Guys, we're trying to make plays that we love here, right? Like, we're not just shooting from the hip and having some action. We got MLB rolling now. We got NBA. There might be some days where MLB's a light day and NBA's heavy, or vice versa. It just works out like that, and honestly, that's the smarter way of doing it, right? Like, we didn't just place things to place them yesterday because we create content. We need 5 plays or something like that. So 2 plays yesterday. Our bigger one did come through, and the Knicks were kind of struggling. Cavs looked good. The Knicks were kind of struggling for the majority of the game. They ultimately end up prevailing. There was the final score of that one, like 110 to 93. It took a dog you-know-what fourth quarter from Portland, and the Knicks played their best basketball of the game in the fourth quarter, so thank you for that one. The Hornets-Pelicans, what a bad look. We can own that one on the chin, right? In terms of our ride of the day, we didn't have one yesterday, but we did kind of talk about it, and I threw out the idea of potentially moving the ride of the day over to the baseball videos. Sounds like you guys are not ready for that, and I'm okay with that, so we'll keep the ride of the day in the NBA for now. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's something really cool, fun, and unique we do here on the channel to kind of collaborate with the community, right? So all you have to do is use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments with your favorite play of the day. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day, give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. I also shout you out over on my Twitter/X, which should be popping up here in just a second, at FGuyBoston. If you guys are interested in what the ride of the day is each and every day, I post it right there. It's also posted on the Guy Boston Sports site along with the final plays. But yeah, get those hashtag ride of the days in there. If you win and we select you, we continue to roll with your plays. If you lose, you get the shout out. But we got to drop the womp womp on the soundboard. But if that all sounds good, let's go ahead and dive into today's slate. Like I said, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We may not have a bunch of plays today because there are some weird spots on the board, including this first game, Charlotte taking on Utah. Even if these two teams were fully healthy, we'd be like, this is kind of a weird one, right? But no, Josh Green potentially playing, Mark Williams potentially playing. They were on a back-to-back, right? We had them in that over yesterday with the Pelicans. Didn't come through. But no LaMelo Ball, obviously. No Brandon Miller. On the Utah side of things, Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, John Collins all listed as out, and Colin Sexton listed as questionable. So, yeah, this is a tough spot here. I would say I don't mind Utah. I think that between Collier and if Sexton does play and then say throw Filipowski down there, I think that they probably have more options versus just Miles Bridges. But I will say if Mark Williams plays and now Walker Kessler's out, you could make an argument for, wow, Miles Bridges and Mark Williams down low with no Walker Kessler, we should see a decent game. So sure, if you want to make that argument for Charlotte, I don't hate it, but they are on a back-to-back here. They've been good at covering back-to-backs this season, but I think +1 is a little bit lower of a line than what they're normally getting. So I'm going to lean towards Utah. I don't think that this is going to make it to a final play. We're at the point in the NBA season where teams that don't necessarily have playoff hopes or anything like that probably aren't putting their best foot forward in terms of their performance. We have to keep that in mind, right? In terms of the total, I was burned by Charlotte yesterday. I don't trust this offense as far as I could throw him. Mark Williams being back, sure, but he can also contribute on the defensive end. I'm going to lean slightly towards the under. I don't think Utah is going to play that fast ball and honestly play, even if they do play at the pace they have been playing at, which over the last 10 games is the top 4 pace. No Markkanen, no Collins, no Walker Kessler. Colin Sexton might not even run. It's like, I don't think they'll have the efficiency they need. Now, this is a low line, so if you're sitting here being like, but I loved the over, I think both these teams' defenses stink. Sure, but I'm kind of trusting the lack thereof of offensive efficiency over any sort of pace or lack of defense. And then no player props in this one. I'm sorry to start you off with this game, but this is probably the worst game on the board. Ultimately, yeah, it is. All right, Orlando taking on the Clips. This is an interesting one here. Anthony listed as questionable. Cole Anthony on the Orlando side of things. Kawhi Leonard, Amir Coffey listed as, Kawhi Leonard's actually probable. He didn't play yesterday. Clippers are on a back-to-back. Coffey listed as questionable, as is Jordan Miller, but I think Coffey's obviously being that role player, probably a little bit more interesting, but the biggest injury news is that Kawhi is listed as probable, right? I don't mind the Clippers in this spot. I will say they're coming off a tough-fought game yesterday, losing to Cleveland, which we were on the right side of. Harden played a bunch of minutes, I think like 36. Powell played almost 40 minutes. Zubac, everyone seemed to play a bunch of minutes. But this Clippers team, like they scored 122 on a good Cleveland defense, right? They lost by 5. So sure, you could sit here and be like, oh, well, you know, they lost, but they covered their number, right? They are still on the road. They're definitely a better home team this year, but I sit here and I look at Orlando, and it's like, okay, well, they've now won 4 of their last 5. Orlando's back, right? Washington, Lakers, and they were at home, Orlando, so that's a different Lakers team, and they were injured. Charlotte, they lose to Dallas, and then they beat Sacramento, who I'm not exactly sure if Sacramento is anything to talk about or brag about right now, right? So I'm going to sit here and say, okay, well, just from the numbers perspective, this is a 10 times better offense for the Clippers. They've only covered in 43% of the games on back-to-backs, but on the flip side, Orlando, with a rest advantage over their opponent, only 40% of games. So, yeah, I'm going to say both good defenses and one team I do think has a fairly dynamic offense. So I'm going to lean towards the over. I'm going to lean towards the Clippers, and I also don't mind the over because I am looking at the Clippers from an offensive perspective, and Orlando's defense really just hasn't been fully doing it for me based on the teams they played, right? Like, again, Sacramento, Dallas, Charlotte, Lakers, and the Lakers were on the road. Washington, they played Houston before that, whereas the Clippers offense, last 10 games, I'll just go through them. There's one game, and it was against OKC, in which their offense didn't look all that great against the best defense in the league. But the other 9 games here, and I'll include OKC. So the last 10 games, 120, 119, 121, 123, 132, 128. The 101 game against OKC was a low-scoring game overall. New York, 126, 132, and then 122 yesterday. Can Orlando's offense keep up with a Clippers offense that's going to give you 120? I don't think so. Pivot that you could go towards if you don't like the idea of Clippers being favored on the road on a back-to-back, any sort of that gibberish, right? I wouldn't mind the idea of saying, hey, just give me a Clippers team total over. Like, let the Clippers go out there and score, and we'll be happy campers. Right now, you can get them at over 104.5. They've hit that in 9 of their last 10 games, and over their last 20 games, they've hit it in 16 of 20. They're averaging 116.2. So over 104.5 could be a look here. I will kind of throw in the caveat that they did play Orlando once this season. It was in LA, and they only scored 104 points. So that's something to be said. They only shot the ball 77 times, so it was a slow-ish type pace game. They're averaging, I believe, 10 more field goal attempts per game this year, and in the last 20, they're averaging 12 more field goal attempts than that 77 number. So, yeah, I do think that, we could see a lot more field goals and more pace out of this Clippers team. So, give me their team total over. I also don't mind them on the spread in a full game over either, but I guess in that order I just said is probably the priority. Didn't talk about player props yet, but I do think this is a decent Kawhi Leonard spot, so I'd consider him kind of any way you want to play him. I think he has a good matchup just overall, and him being the fresh Clipper could be a good look. So I like his points plus assists or his PRA overall. It is a high line, but I think, again, he's got the fresh legs under him, and we should see him to continue to do what he's doing. He's been hitting his overs in like 9 or 8 of his last 10 games. Indiana taking on Sacramento here. In terms of the injury report, it's been important to note for both these squads. Benedict Mathurin being the only one that's of note on the Indiana side of things. Obviously, Monk and then Carter and LaRavia listed as out here for this Kings team. The Kings, we know that they've been on our actually, I don't know, Monk might be good to go, actually, but they've been on our kind of DNB graveyard forever, up and down. I don't mind their spot for the plus points today. The one thing I will say is that I guess I should start with why I probably can't get there. I don't love Indiana here -5.5. Okay, so that's why I started to be like, okay, can we consider the Kings, right? The Kings were playing bad basketball, but match up what I would say fairly well against this squad, because this is an Indiana team that really does struggle in the paint at preventing points in the paint. That's where Sacramento's going to try and score from. In terms of in the paint scoring, or at least shooting frequency, they're a top 7 team. They also like to score in the mid-range as well, which is not Indiana's strong suit defensively. So all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I like Sacramento. My one concern is that this Indiana team should be able to pick the Sacramento team apart on the perimeter, like truly. So I sit there and I'm like, okay, yeah, there are a lot of good angles to be made for Sacramento, but ultimately, if they're going to be trading 2 for 3s, it's tough to get there. Luckily, I think that 5.5 points is enough, so by default, I'm going to lean towards Sacramento, but you can even see probably, or hear in terms of how I'm explaining this, that kind of went back and forth overall on this one in general, right? Because Indiana, bar none, has been playing better basketball than them. And the perimeter, which is very important in today's NBA, they seem like they have that on lock in this one overall. Last time they played was this season, and Indiana absolutely took it to them. It was like 125-95, something like that, something crazy. So yeah, I would say that this is a spot in which if we didn't get a big number, like I think 5.5 is a big enough number. If we didn't get that number, I'd probably consider Indiana. If this is even down to like 2.5 or something like that, I'd consider Indiana. But I started off saying this Sacramento team has been the DMB graveyard. I don't know why I see like potential in them or anything like that. We've bet them so many times this year and they've let us down. But this should be a spot where at least I think that they can kind of assert some dominance in the paint. And all it takes is Indiana to not shoot the ball well today, and Sacramento could even, hell, win this one outright. So, yeah, a little crazy. I get it. I'll sound the psycho alert alarm, but I kind of like the spot overall for Sacramento. There's just enough on the other side that may prevent me from pulling the trigger. In terms of what we have from a total, I don't mind an over. It's at 235. That's a very high number. But again, this Indiana team has been playing some good basketball. It's not like the defense has been all that great. If Sacramento's going to get easy layups inside, and Indiana may get some easy transition opportunities as well as some easy 3-ball opportunities, then it's hard for me to think that this game's going to go under. So I'm going to lean over 235.5. I mentioned a couple spots, player prop wise, or at least shooting zone wise, that do make sense to me. So one would be taking a peek at DeMar DeRozan. I kind of like him in the scoring department today, just due to the fact that Indiana does struggle in his specific shooting zones. But overall, we look at DeMar DeRozan lately, and it's like he's been playing some good basketball, but he's definitely had some up and down basketball as well, right? He hasn't hit his points line in 4 straight games. I'd be looking at his points plus assists. He's been diming it up, but all of a sudden he went 10, 6, 10, and then 1 assist in his last game. So very inconsistent, but that would be the guy that I'd look at. I also don't mind Sabonis in this spot either. He's playing against his old team, if we want to say that that's anything worth noting. I mean, it's been a little bit of time now, but he has looked okay against his team. 2 of his 3 games against them, he's gone up and over. From a PRA perspective, might be where I consider, because I think he could have a decent game. Again, this year he didn't have the best game against somebody. He actually did hit his PRA because he grabbed a ton of rebounds. So Domantas Sabonis, maybe over rebounds, maybe over PRA just in general against his old squad. 2, again, I talked about in the paint, 2 spots I'd look at on the Sacramento side of things. But I got to say it, it's a big but, right? And I think I've said that a couple times now in today's video. Something about this Kings team just messes with my brain. Washington taking on Miami. I don't have too much in this one. Alec Burks listed as probable. Wiggins, Robinson, Love, and Jovic all listed as out. But there's a ton of injuries on the Washington side of things too. This would be Knicks. This would be Kings. Jeez, let's get it right out. This would be Heat or nothing for me, but maybe a first half look at the Heat, because I don't know if they'll finish out the game. I also think Jordan Poole might just chuck today, so I kind of like his over 13.5 points. I don't mind his threes either. Like I said, I think this is going to be a spot in which he just chucks, because this is a good perimeter defense that he's going to be going up against this Miami squad. And against Miami in the past, he's actually been really good. 19, 16, 6, 22, and 21. That 21-point game happening this season in November, he was shooting the ball more and obviously scoring more, but still, if he's going to shoot a bunch from the perimeter, which is Miami's decent at it, but I think he's just going to get a ton of quantity. So over 13.5 points for Jordan Poole would be something that I actually consider. In terms of what we have from a total perspective, I'd lean towards the under. I think Miami's going to do their best to just slow this thing down, kind of grind it out. But if you like the over, yeah, you'd probably make the argument that, well, Washington is at home. Washington's going to try and up the tempo, right? And Washington at home this season has covered the over, so hit the over in 62% of their games. So totally worth noting. I do understand it, but to me, it's like, I think Miami being such a slow-paced team, they're going to be the team that says, hey, we got this one. Let's slow it down. But Jordan Poole, chucking on offense. I like him today. All right, Memphis taking on the Celtics. I feel like every game with the Celtics as we close out the year, we're going to have to keep an eye on the injury report. We do have Jaylen Brown listed as questionable. Now, I've said this over and over again. As long as they have one of the Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, and then the other guys, the secondary players, which sounds crazy saying secondary about guys like Derek White or Kristaps or anything like that, because these guys are so damn good. But as long as they have those guys good to go, and one of either Tatum or Brown in the regular season here, I think that, if you can get the Celtics at 4.5, seems like the play to me. So I will lean towards the Celtics. They are absolutely rolling right now. 9 of their last 10. They've won 8 straight games. They're covering a decent amount as well. 4 of their last 5 games. Memphis, not playing the best basketball. Now, you could say Ja Morant missed a bunch of games. Okay, I'd give you that one. And they have played a fairly tough schedule, right? Like 3 of their last 4 games have been Clippers, OKC, and the Lakers. They played the Clippers and OKC away as well. So, yeah, not exactly the easiest spot for them. But overall, I don't sit here and say, well, Ja Morant's the player type to crush the Celtics. And Memphis beat the Celtics this season. So I think there's going to be some sort of revenge narrative there for the Celts. But I will say, just like I talked about with, the first half of Miami and whatnot, do the Celtics have 48 minutes in them? Like, they're pretty cemented into where they are player prop-wise. Are they going to kind of dog it and say, hey, let's make sure that we're healthy for the playoffs and blah, blah, blah? That could be a little worrisome, right? And you definitely have that potential there with this squad. So keep that in mind if you're rolling with it. But I do like the Celtics minus the 4.5. Maybe Celtics first half if I really wanted to get sort of cute with it. In terms of player props, if Jaylen Brown is a no-go, which, again, he's questionable, he may play, I think an easy pivot would be either Drew Holiday or Derek White. Both those guys' numbers skyrocket when either Tatum or Brown are out. It's probably because a lot of usage is to go around, but overall, I think we could see, points plus assists from either one of those guys being good looks. Total 236. Much like when we talk about Sacramento and they have like a chokehold over me and just they get in my brain like a little worm and make me do things, I've been looking at my numbers, right, for this season, looking at what I've won, what I've lost. I've hit a ton of L's on Memphis involved unders, so full game unders that Memphis is playing in. And I see it again today. I see another under. I see Memphis wanting to score in the paint. The Celtics being a good team. Last 3 games, 6th in terms of points in the paint allowed. On the road this year, number 3. It's like I see Memphis struggling to score. And also the Celtics, who run a ton of isolation, 2nd most in the entire league. Memphis is great. Number 1 in terms of defense, effective field goal percentage against. Number 2 in terms of score percentage. Like, they're really good at stopping the isolation. So I'm like, oh, an easy under. But what is going on with these unders with Memphis? I'm going to do it again today. You can get 236.5 right now. I like the under, but if this one is an L, I don't think that I can even touch any Memphis unders, playoffs included, for the rest of the year because, man, oh man, I was looking back at my numbers and my plays for the entire season, right? Kind of filtering and chopping up, seeing what we've done well, seeing what we've done poorly. And when Memphis is involved in unders, we've gotten smoked this year. OKC taking on Chicago. Probably an OKC first half look. And we might go back to what we had done with the ride of the day a little while back, right? I believe it was Eric that had the idea of taking OKC to win the first half and to win the second half independently in a parlay. I think that could be a good spot. I don't see any reason why Chicago should fully compete here other than the fact that they've been playing decent basketball. Now, they lost to Dallas a couple days ago, but OKC, even though it's late in the year and even though they're laying these big numbers, they are smoking teams. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that this could be a good spot. We're going to want to keep an eye on that injury report. Wiggins is, I believe, already out, but then they have Jalen Williams, not the good one, the other Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Isaiah Hartenstein listed as questionable. If those guys don't play, then it's going to be a little bit different because that goes their interior altogether, right? But with Williams, the good Williams, Dort, and Shea all listed as active, that's massive to cover this Chicago team because what's Chicago going to do? We've been talking about it, right? They love the perimeter. They love shooting from above the break and all that. And it's like if OKC has their perimeter defenders, Dort, Shea, and Williams, game over, right? So I like the idea of potentially parlaying OKC first half money line and second half money line, meaning independent. It's not a half time and full time. That's an entirely different play altogether. That means OKC has to be leading at the half and win the game. No, it's almost like you have to win the first half, right? And now it's 0-0, win the second half independently. So yeah, I kind of like that idea. We talked about it a little bit when the ride of the day came out. Could be a good spot today because I do see them being ultimately super good defensive set against the Chicago team. Now, Chicago will take it into the paint, and they have a little bit more as of late, especially with Josh Giddey playing really, really well, which I believe he is questionable, so that's going to be a massive loss if he doesn't get the go. But overall, what I'm trying to say here is that maybe instead of that 15-point spread or even the money line parlay for the halves, could we consider just a Chicago team total under? Like, I'm talking a lot about this defense, right? What if we just looked at under, right now you can get under 113.5. They've been crushing that line. They've been playing good basketball, but they ain't played the OKC Thunder. You know what I mean? So maybe that's a decent spot to consider. They played earlier on in the year, and I mean early on in the season, and Chicago only scored 95 points. That was way earlier in the year, so I don't want to factor that in too much, but OKC could be a decent spot here, right, for them to play some defense. So yeah, team total under could be a look. No major player props that I'm loving as of right now, though. Real quick, guys, in this game, we do have a sleeper picks promo. Anthony Davis, who is probable, and we should see him. They've knocked his points line down to 0.5. You're also going to get the play 5, get 55 deal, which is still going on. Like, I've been talking about these free squares they offer to new customers. I get it. That's great. But man, oh man, the play 5, and then you 11x that and get 5. You get $5 11 times over. That seems like the no-brainer. So check out the link in the description as well as the pinned comment. You can also just use code GUYBOSTON to get all the same goodies there. Get this free square. Get that play 5, get 55 promo as well. I don't know how long they're going to offer that, but that thing is a money stealer. So go check it out. That link will be down below in the description as well as the pinned comment. Like I said, we got Dallas and Brooklyn. Anthony Davis should be playing, which is why that line is where it is. And you know what? I don't mind Dallas if he does get the run. Like, he is a game changer. Obviously, they're still super injured overall, but they've won 4 of their last 5 games. Had they been against the best competition? Not necessarily, but they did kind of take out a hot Orlando team, a hot Bulls team. They beat the Pistons. They beat the Nets recently, right, by like 20. So, yeah, I don't see why there's any issue with, a 10-point spread here. I think this one's probably going to move down, too, because a lot of people look at that and say, oh, 10's too much. So if you can get this at like 8, I don't necessarily mind it overall. I think that this is a Dallas team that their one concern and one struggle has been in the paint and all that. But obviously, Anthony Davis, if he plays and he's down there, he's a damn good defender, right? So I think that he should have a decent game. Lively, also questionable. So if he's healthy, all of a sudden, and Daniel Gafford probable, like all of a sudden, the interior for this Dallas team that has been such a struggle, these guys are coming around. So yeah, could be a decent spot to consider Dallas here in this overall. And they're still trying to play some good basketball, right? They're 9th in the West right now, whereas Brooklyn's like, hey, our season's over. Dallas still kind of hanging around there. So keep that in mind as the season concludes. In terms of what we have from a total, I would say Brooklyn team total under could be on the horizon here. My one little worry is that deep down, I know this Brooklyn team, isn't the best shooting team, but man, do they try to shoot a lot of threes and they rely on the 3 ball. Dallas still a very good perimeter defense, but I do kind of get worried that some of their guards have been injured, and now I just talked about it, right? Their interior defense is stepping up. So I would say, both from the perimeter and the interior, this should be a decent matchup for Dallas, but overall, we're not going to get the best of numbers for Brooklyn. This thing's already moving down, right? So in terms of Brooklyn team total under, you'd have to be looking at like under 106.5, which worries me a little bit because I could see them scoring 107 and still having a bad offensive game. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's right there. So that would be the way that I'd go about looking at the total. And then player props wise, yeah, I'd probably just consider that at 80.5 point square. That's what I'd be looking at. All right, Lakers taking on Houston. If this Lakers team is healthy, and what I mean by that is if LeBron plays, he's listed as probable right now. This should be a very good game. Now, the line kind of indicates that that's a good game, so that would be good in a sense, right? Because if this is the Lakers line of like 7.5, it'd be like an easy look at Houston, in my opinion. But 4.5, Lakers winning by 5, strikes me as a decent spot. Like, they just beat a Memphis team that was a little bit more healthy than they have been by, was it 7 points? Houston on a back-to-back here, they did smoke the Thunder yesterday, the Suns yesterday, not the Thunder. And by doing so, they did have Durant booked. Like, these guys didn't play a crazy amount of minutes, so we should be fairly healthy on the Houston side. Why did I say Durant and Booker? Sengun and all their normal. Durant and Booker definitely didn't play a lot of minutes, but we saw, I think Van Vliet played less than 30 minutes. Sengun played only like 25 minutes. Jalen Green played 27. That's what I meant in terms of their guys not playing. So, yeah, if you want to look at Houston again on back-to-backs this season, maybe, close your eyes because they've only covered in 33% of their games, but the Lakers only 44% of their games when they've been on a rest advantage over their opponent, they've covered in. So I think this is going to be a decent spot for Houston getting those points. Like I said, close game. If you like the Lakers, certainly arguments to be made there, but I think this Houston defense on the perimeter should be pretty damn good, and they should be good against the pick and roll, which is obviously something that the Lakers are going to run a lot. I worry about the isolation. I've been saying that all year long too, right? Like, if you want to isolate against this Houston team, you can. So Luka, LeBron, all the Austin Reeves, these guys, if they want to run isolation, it's going to be a problem. Player prop wise, Jalen Green, another guy that I would look towards. I liked him yesterday, didn't roll with it, but didn't expect it to be a blowout either. So yeah, Jalen Green probably the spot that I'm considering. Right now his points line I think is at 22.5. Was it? Yeah, 21.5, even better. Yesterday, like, he only played, 27 minutes. He had 30-plus points. So I didn't roll with it. I'm glad that I should have rolled with it. I'm glad I didn't, because it's not always that you're going to blow a team out and then still, get your points line. But he was a major, proponent of that blowout. But I think that he could be in a very good spot here against this Lakers team as well. Last 2 times he played them, he hit 4 threes. He had 34 points. And then he hit 5 threes and had 33 points. So I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be able to do that again today. But I will say I like his assists kind of being involved there as well. So points plus assists for Jalen Green, something that I'm considering as well. Total-wise, I think it's going to go under if Houston plays some good defense. I see this finishing right around the 221-ish mark. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, get those hashtag Ride of the Days down in the comments. Make sure to check out the MLB plays. We're on fire in the MLB right now. Knock on wood. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.